Welcome back to the Adults Table. I am your host on this spooky Halloween, Rabbi Mike.
And I am Ryan, a former fundy, now turned biblical enthusiast.
And here at the Adults Table, we hope to have some great open conversations each week that foster a better understanding of the Bible.
I certainly have learned a lot so far and cannot wait to see what tales you have to spin for us tonight.
hmm All treats, no tricks. Pull up a chair, and we will be right back.
The Adults Table, theological conversations uncensored.
Happy Halloween, everybody! We are doing a special Halloween episode to bring you all kinds of fun things on this close to Halloween, things that exist into our Bible and elsewhere, into rabbinic literature, Jewish literature, things like that. There will be, of course, some connection to some things in Near Eastern literature, ancient Near East, which Ryan will maybe perhaps give us a little bit more um, context about, but we've got a lot of fun stuff to do today.
I can't wait. This is going to be
So if you have
interesting.
not subscribed, subscribe to us, please, and tell your friendy friends. And welcome to the Adults Table. We're going to do some Halloween stuff. So Ryan, what do you say we put Halloween on the table?
Put it on the table.
We are going to start with, first of all, I love this quote that we've got in the front, which is from the Talmud, Brachot 3b, which says, "In such places where evil spirits resort, there is occasion for fear," meaning even in the 5th century CE, there were haunted houses that people were aware of. Pretty cool. And
Wow.
you should be afraid of them. Pretty cool.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah, isn't it great? It's
It
awesome.
is, in fact.
Yeah, so like be scared of haunted houses. And it also says like, hey, there's spirits out there. Like it shows that there was these beliefs, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about, in the fact that these beliefs existed, and that they were part of our cultural repertoire, in the Bible from Israelite times to rabbinic times. So let's get started. So let's start with ghosts. The word for the ghost in Hebrew is either Rapha, Ruach, or Hamet. Hamet would be the dead. Ruach is more like wind, and Rapha is like a spirit. This has been an ancient Jewish belief and an ancient Near Eastern belief, that are souls of the dead, who are with us, who have not transitioned over into whatever the afterlife was, the world to come, or somehow there are great stories about the dead who have been disturbed or summoned out of the world to come, or out of that sort of limbo state. We will read the ghost story from 2 Samuel 28, which features a witch as well. So it's a great Halloween story that we're going to read. And then when it comes to rabbinic literature, which, by the way, is 2nd century to 5th century CE, but it's a collection from probably 2nd century BCE and more, so probably 400 to 600 years of legends and myths and belief systems that were finally written down in 2nd century to 5th century CE, which gives a great understanding of what Second Temple belief systems were at the time for our Christian friends, what perhaps people around in the 1st century, during the time in which allegedly Jesus lived. This might have been some common Jewish beliefs as well. We see stories about going into the cemetery at night, the dead communicating with the living, divine realms, really cool stuff. And then, of course, you get into more of the more mythical sort of stuff like exorcisms and the Dybbuk, the evil spirit, and all kinds of other, the Hasidim, the mystical teachings have all kinds of things like that of spirits visiting, and it's very sort of magical. I want to make sure that this is not mainstream, right? This is not something that Judaism, for the most part, still acknowledges, but the fact that it was recorded in these into the Tanakh, but all the Bible, but also into rabbinic literature, means that there was within the cultural repertoire at the time certain beliefs about ghosts. So that I think is really important. Okay, so let's read a little bit about ghosts. So I have 4 right now, then we'll get further. 4 Torah commandments and pieces of literature that reference ghosts. And the reason why we're talking about them is because if they were important enough to make a law about, they were important enough for, belief systems, and otherwise they wouldn't have been written there. So the fact that they're there shows that these were not only common beliefs within Israelite culture, but also the surrounding cultures. We should remember that one of the main parts of Leviticus is trying to outlaw outside practices of the Canaanites and Ammonites and Hittites and all the other peoples around who had ghosts in their culture. And so to take ghosts and say, we're not going to deal with them in Leviticus means that they were there and they were a threat to Israelite, religion or Israelite belief. And of course, these are the Levitical writers are going to have their own sort of ideas. The Deuteronomic authors are going to have their own ideas. And then when we get to later stories like 2 Samuel, they just sort of throw all this away and he just does it anyway. So just be a reminder of different times, different authors and things like that. So there is no consistent view of what to do with ghosts within Judaism, certainly not ancient or rabbinic. So we have 3 Levitical priestly declarations where you're not supposed to go to ghosts and speak with them, right? You don't ask them questions. You don't turn to them for help. They shouldn't be your oracles. They shouldn't be something that you should do, right? Which means that there was certainly rituals at the time to bring ghosts up, which we will see again in 2 Samuel, which is super cool. And the fact that there were these beliefs that ghosts could be oracles, and that so the Levitical priests are saying, don't do that. We're going to take care of all that stuff. Don't turn to them, turn to us, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think what's so cool is that when you read in between the lines, you can tell what was really happening amongst the people versus what, like, it's just a little tell of like, okay, don't do this. Okay, so they're doing it. Okay,
so they're doing it. Right. Exactly.
Oh, they're doing
that whole
it.
thing, right? If you see a law against something, it means that somebody did it, right?
Somebody did it.
Somebody did it, and they had to write the law against it, right? So they get a little bit harder on Leviticus 20, right? If you do turn to ghosts, then the priests are saying not only is it wrong, but you'll be cut off from the people. In other words, if you are looking for oracle stuff that is not God, which is through the voice of the priests at the time, then we don't even want you here. Just like, no good, right? And then a couple verses later, they'll say, you know what? Forget what I just said.
Oh,
Put you to death.
Help me.
So look how the Levitical writers sort of, this is how you can tell by the way that it's multiple priests, multiple authors, right? Is the first commandment says, don't turn to ghosts. The second said, if you do, we're going to cut you off from the people. And the third one says, we'll kill you. So it's not someone like writing and changing his mind. It's 3 different ideas about ghosts and the harsher punishments. And so the real fun question would have been like, why are all 3 of these in here? But
Right, that's the
basically,
better question,
that's
is
the
why
better
there's
question.
all these different ideas or
Right.
expectations, whatever, in there.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And Deuteronomy, of course, is the retelling and of all these things. So Deuteronomy picked and
Mhm.
chose from proto Genesis through proto Numbers about what they wanted and retold the whole stories. And so there's this 1811 who's talking about, here's what's wicked or don't do that. People who cast spells, that's going to be witches, which we're going to talk about later, and people who consult ghosts or familiar spirits, right? Or one who inquires of the dead. So again, even in the Deuteronomic ideas, the Deuteronomic writer, which is a later author, there were still people who were using ghosts for fortune telling or oracles or that sort of thing. Yes, pretty much, Dan. Yeah, talk to a ghost, and maybe we'll talk to you. So yeah, it's really fascinating, really silly when you
Good
think about it
comment,
that way.
Dan.
Yeah, good comment. Really think about it. Like, talk to dead people, and you'll be one. And we'll talk to you then. Then we'll really
I
have a
see
talking
dead
to.
people. No, really,
Yeah,
we're
really. Yeah,
going to see them.
right. Um, so obviously, we're going to get to Second Kings or Second Samuel rather, but in Second Kings, we read a little story about someone who is in front of. He signed us under the fire, of course, like why he practiced soothsaying and divination, and consulted ghosts and familiar spirits. So people who would consult ghosts and familiar spirits, whatever that means, right, is like oracle-ish spirits or ghosts, would use that to one. They would use divination to bring them up, so they'd use some sort of magic, and then they do soothsaying. So they would say, "This is what the ghost said." And here's what you do. And again, no wonder that is displeasing to Yahweh, because that means that you're relying on all kinds of other godly or non-godly divine things, and it takes away for the whole, free will from Yah, all the sort of theology that we're familiar with.
Mm.
So that makes sense, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah, of course. Nobody else. We can't have
Right. Nobody else
any
but
middle.
me.
It
Right.
all goes to him. Don't.
You're not allowed to go
No,
outside
can't do that.
one boss. Right. Exactly. And this is Second Kings, so this is a much later, ideas. And Isaiah, we have the prophetic books, right, where Isaiah is talking about, hey, here's what you shouldn't do, right now. So he's
Mhm.
reiterating some of this stuff. Either that, or remember that it's not necessarily um, known that a lot of the prophets even read some of the Torah in its time. Some parts of the Torah were written after the prophetic works, but so maybe Isaiah is saying this for the first time during his time, before it was written down in these other places. So he says, "Now should people say to you, inquire of the ghosts and familiar spirits that chirp and moan." Apparently, ghosts chirp. "For
Mhm.
a people may inquire of its divine beings, and the
They're
dead
like,
behalf of the living." Yeah, exactly.
look at
You're
them gams.
sexy. Exactly.
Ew.
And then he talks again. "Egypt shall be drained of spirit, will be confounded with plans, they'll consult idols in the shades of the ghosts and the familiar spirits." In other words, I'm going to kick Egypt's butt, and they're going to try to do all these things that we know don't work, right? They're going to try to do that, but only this is very Isaiah. Remember, is a very monotheistic book, so they're at this point they're saying that's not even going to work, right? Um, only consulting Yahweh is going to be the way that we're going to fix all of this. So again, we have two very contrasting ideas. One that certainly was done, one that it works and you shouldn't do it, and one that it doesn't work at all. Only our enemies do that, and they're going to try to do that, but it's not going to work. So very, very different ideas that are coming from different authors and different cultural repertoires there about
Right.
ghosts. Yes, Maya, maybe like a bird. Probably not. No. When he means chirp, it means like making sounds, like moaning and making
Bah,
sounds. So exactly. Yeah.
right.
Right.
Um,
Um,
one of
yeah.
these Isaiahs, one of these
Yeah. There are
Isaiahs
three. Oh,
is
yeah. Go ahead.
well, of these two scriptures you have here,
Yeah.
maybe even both, I'm not sure, were a reference for the Raphaim. I think it might be the shades.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
That's rad.
it's either,
Okay.
yeah, so that's the reference there is
Oh, rad. Okay.
I know, isn't
Yeah.
that cool? Because I remember I said to you that's one of the things I forgot is to pull some of the scriptures out to show you where else
Right.
like
Right.
they
Right. The
were, and
Raphaim.
that's
Right.
mhm.
So, yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, it does say. Let me see. It does say. Ooh, I like that. The shades of the dead. Another word is divine beings that they have, but or the dead on behalf of the living.
Hmm.
Let me check the. Let me do the real work here and look in the Hebrew. Now,
It's interesting.
sure to seek. Okay, the spiritualists, right? Dionim. Oh wow, yeah. To chirp really is boy. Mitzapzafim, to chirp. Or to meditate, the meditations or the moans or the speakings. Um, there we go.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't see the Rephaim in
No?
here, but I must be missing it.
Um, what?
I believe you. I'm just not
Believe me,
looking at it,
please.
so but you will find it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can
Um,
take a little peeksy
yeah, do
around
for it.
here. Oh,
Yeah.
pepperoni.
Okay. So, 1 Samuel 28, 3 through 18. We've got this wonderful story um, of Samuel and Saul, David, all this sort of stuff um, about trying to do exactly what the priests have said not to do. Right? The
Oh, yeah,
actual.
yeah.
You find
I
something?
remember this one. No, 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 I'm
Okay, go ahead.
sorry. I was just saying,
All
yeah,
right.
I remember this. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
Right,
like,
right.
oh, yeah, yeah. I'm like hyping
Oh
you up.
yeah, yeah. I got some Rephaim. Uh, so yeah. So this is a story one that it features a soothsayer or divine, someone with divination, literally someone who's called the Witch of Endor, who is a character that exists in our Tanakh. But this is who you turn to if you're trying to consult ghosts, if you're trying to inquire through an oracle as to answer divine questions and that sort of stuff. And so, um, even though it's banned, our hero does it anyway, um, and we see what happens. Um, the divination works, even though you're not supposed to do it. It works.
Interesting.
And so that's again one of those things where, like, yes, it works, just don't do it. Is one of the belief systems that existed for a long time within the Tanakh. Ryan, you
Hmm.
want to read us this awesome ghost story?
For sure. I ain't afraid of no
Woohoo!
ghosts. You knew I
I
had to
ain't
throw
afraid
that
of
in
no
there at least
ghosts.
once
Yeah,
tonight. So that was coming.
yeah,
Okay. Now Samuel had died, and all Israel had lament for him, and he was buried in his own town of Ramah. And Saul had forbidden recourse to ghosts and familiar spirits in the land. The Philistines mustered, and they marched to Shunem and encamped. And Saul gathered all Israel, and they encamped at Gilboa. When Saul saw the Philistine force, his heart trembled with fear. And Saul inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him, either by dream or, oh, dream, of course, either by dreams or
yep,
by
yep.
Urim or by prophets. Is Urim a person, I'm guessing?
Urim are those sort
Urim.
of oracles, those priestly oracles. Yeah,
Ah, okay, because it's a plural there, Eam. Okay.
yeah,
Then Saul said to his courtiers, find me a woman who consults ghosts, so that I can go to her, inquire through her. and his
Courtiers.
courtiers told courtiers told him, why does that sound so weird, that
I
there
don't
was a
know.
woman in Endor who consulted ghosts. Saul disguised himself. He put on different clothes and set out with 2 men. They came to the woman by night, and he said, "Please divine for me by a ghost. Bring up for me the one I shall name to you." Oh, so he has a name. The woman answered
That's
him,
right.
"You know what Saul has done. Now he has banned the use of ghosts and familiar spirits in the land. So why are you laying a trap for me? To get me killed?" Saul swore to her by the Lord, "As the Lord lives, you won't get into trouble over this." At that, the woman said, "Whom shall I bring up for you?" He answered, "Bring up Samuel for me." Then the woman recognized Samuel, and she shrieked loudly and said to Saul, "Why have you deceived me? You are Saul." The king answered her, "Don't be afraid. What do you see?" And the woman said to Saul, "I see a divine being coming up from the earth." "What does he look like?" he asked her. "It is an old man coming up," she said, "and he is wrapped in a robe." Then Saul knew that it was Samuel, and he bowed down in homage with his face to the ground. Samuel said to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me and brought me up?" And Saul answered, "I am in great trouble. The Philistines are attacking me, and God has turned away from me. He no longer answers me, either by prophets or in dreams. So I have called you to tell me what to do." Samuel said, "Why do you ask me, seeing that the Lord has turned away from you and has become your adversary?" Is that where it says Ahasitan? The Lord has done for himself.
No,
No, okay.
no. I will
The Lord
check,
has
but I think it's a different word.
a different one. Okay. The Lord
Yeah.
has done for himself as he foretold through me. The Lord has torn the kingship out of your hands and has given it to your fellow David, because you did not obey the Lord and did not execute his wrath upon the Amalekites. That is why the
Hmm.
Lord has done this to you today. I can't even talk tonight.
No, it's okay. Listen, English is hard sometimes.
It is hard
Um,
sometimes.
it is. No, the adversary here, the word is areka, which is your enemy.
Ah,
Um, so a few. Thank you, by the way. So a few big things. One, Saul has made the proclamation, "Don't do this," and then goes and does it because why not? But
he
he
doggone done
finds
it.
the woman in Endor, which is also translated as the witch of Endor. This is someone who is a character, a woman from Endor, and he goes to her, like, you go into the tent and she brings up her her magic 8 ball or whatever it is, and she says, what's the name of the person that you need to bring up? You need to bring up a particular spirit, right? So she calls or brings up with magic what she thinks is this. This is interesting. A divine being um, who um, who's in a robe. So we get like a little cultural repertoire of what they think the people look like in the world to come. They look like old men in robes. If you die an old man, you're still an old man,
Okay.
but
You
you wear a
just
robe
right there. You
because why
stay
not?
there.
It's like you woke him up. He's like, I'm still in my robe. I'm
Me
just kidding. He's wearing
jammies.
like yeah.
He was
And he
comfy.
says, and Samuel's like, "Why have you disturbed me and brought me up?" So basically, like, why have you risen me from the dead? I was sleeping. Or why have you disturbed me? I was peaceful in this world to come, whatever it is. And Saul's like, "I'm in trouble, dude. God's turned away from me." And somehow Samuel knows why, right? Because according to legend and according to what we have seen and what the Torah says, familiar spirits can tell divination and soothsay. So he's using exactly what he's not supposed to do.
Naughty boy.
So there's like a great little ghost story with witches with a witch in it. It's pretty rad.
It really is
Um,
interesting. And I mean,
yeah,
the dude comes up like just like, yo, like, dude, I
yeah,
was like chilling. You not supposed to text me at this time of night.
right, exactly. Like, I'm still in my robe, and like she sees this guy he's like an old man. He's like, "Why have you brought me up?" right? Meaning from wherever, like the ground, basically.
Mhm.
Like, why have you raised a spirit, right, from
I
the
mean, does
ground?
it say Sheol, or is it just assumed
No,
that
no,
that's,
no,
like,
no, no.
war, or that's not even necessarily the place where
No, it's
they
not. I mean, they don't even mention like where he was. It's just
he's like,
it's
"Boop," he
just
took the
there.
elevator up. He took the
Yeah,
elevator from
like
wherever he was.
right. That's a theological explanation. Like you have to be like, well, where was he? So you have to add, like, was he in Sheol? Was he, next to God? Was he laying in the ground? Like, we don't know. Like, apparently the reader of the time of the cultural repertoire would have known. We don't know what that meant, but obviously it was not important for the author to write because they were like, of course we know where Samuel was. You don't have to tell us that. You don't have to walk us through that.
Right, right,
Which
like,
is,
you
one of those
should
wonderful
know
things.
that.
Exactly. You should know
Know that.
where he was, and here he is. Um, wow, it's already 8:30. My goodness. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
shoot.
going to skip the rabbinic ghost story because it's not as interesting. We're going to go to witches.
Okay.
So, witches and sorcerers definitely also part of the cultural repertoire within the Torah. You shall not tolerate a sorceress, meaning like not tolerance, meaning like you shouldn't let them live. A sorceress is not allowed to be around you, and again, for the same reasons that you're not supposed to bring up people from the dead. Right? They do the work that they're trying to outlaw because they want everyone to rely on Yahweh or whatever it is. So this one comes from Exodus,
Mm,
um, and so my guess is, there's certainly something regarding the fact that it's adjacent to Egypt. In fact, there were all kinds of sorcerers and sorceresses in Egypt, including, as we know, Pharaoh had some sorcerers. His magicians, and did the whole
right.
turn my staff into a snake and all that fun stuff.
You know what? And that story's
Yeah,
so fun because the magic worked for
yeah,
the pharaohs, but the snakes just happened to eat the other snakes. But they're
right.
both doing like the same kind of
They're doing the same
ha
thing,
gotcha.
right? It's not a monotheistic situation where like you think that your magicians are going to do that they can't. They know that the magicians can do it. It's very monolatrous in the fact that our God can beat up your God. Our God is stronger, and so my magic beats your magic, and that's what that story is about. And so, for people who were saying, that's a very hard part for the very strict monotheists who were like, no, nothing else works. There's no God but Yahweh, and blah blah. Well, then where'd the snakes come from? Like the snakes were
Mhm.
obviously from a magician, the magicians who worshipped these other gods, the Egyptian gods, that provided them with this magic in the same way that Yahweh is providing the magic to Moses. So yeah, very very more monolatry than monotheism.
Yeah, I
So
like
yeah,
that. That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's pretty awesome. And then we see that same one about in Deuteronomy, but sort of a little bit longer for you about ghosts. There must not be found among you anyone who makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire. Passing through the fire, by the way, is a magic um, sort of feat of strength. Of and in fact, much later, um, there's a story about when Christianity came to like the north gods, the north, like the Nordic areas, they would light fire and they would say, they'd pray to their God and they'd be able to walk right through it, right? But then there's this story about how the Christian missionary creates a fire, invokes Jesus, and they can't walk through the fire. The fire's too big, and so there's this legend, this Christian legend about that. Again, very monolatrous, but like whatever it is. But anyway, to walk through the fire means to like have godly help, right?
Okay.
Use of divination, a soothsayer, an enchanter, a witch, one who casts spells. one who consults ghosts, one who inquires of the dead. So basically, all magic don't do. They're abhorrent to Yahweh, basically, because again, um, don't do what the other cultures are doing. Everyone's got magicians and sorcerers or whatever it is. All you need is Yahweh. All you need is
All you need
Yahweh.
is Yahweh,
Right.
Yahweh. All you
And
need
that's
is
sort of
Yahweh.
why. And so, yeah, it sort of sets the boundaries of the Israelites again of, don't do that. Um,
And it
it's,
limits the amount of people who can take power away from.
exactly. It's always
Yeah.
about power. Who's in charge? The priestly class, right? The descendants of Aaron. Those are the people who are going to be in charge. And so you can't just go to Joe Schmo, the woman in Endor, right? You can't go over there because they can do the same stuff, but not the way we're supposed to, right? And so again, it's very political. Deuteronomy is very political. So about who's in charge. The Jinn Dan are more Islamic in terms of spirits, but oracles are very different depending on where you place them within the ancient Near East. Sometimes they are divine and wishes. Others, you need someone to interpret them. Sometimes the oracle speaks directly to the person. Sometimes it only speaks to the soothsayer, right? We know the ancient Greeks used oracles all the time. But yeah, it's very, very, it's all over the place, depending. It's
Early
certainly not,
Christians did as well, didn't they?
Yes, they
They were
sure
very
did. Yeah,
magical, the early
very
Christians.
magical. There's archaeological evidence of Jesus with a magic wand, actually,
Yeah.
out there. It's very cool.
I have a
Yeah.
book on, I think it's the Greek magical papyri, and I believe even Yahweh's name is in
Yeah, of
there
course.
as well.
Of
So
course he would
yeah.
be. Yeah, because again, it's about my God versus your God and my magic versus your magic. It's not this monotheistic, like hierarchy where it's like it's all
Right.
whatever it
The
is.
hierarchy.
It's just a bunch of people with magic. Um so and then real quick in terms of 5th century, it's still a very hot topic when it comes to witches, so much so that in the Talmud Pesachim, it says one who encounters witches should say this incantation. Okay, by the way,
Oh, so you
it's an incantation. It's not a we don't believe in you. It's not a whatever it is. You say a curse to a witch to protect yourself and just keep it
Oh
going. All right,
gosh, this
here
is
we
great.
go. Are you ready? Hot
Yeah.
feces and torn date baskets in your mouth, witches. May your hairs fall out, your crumbs scatter, your spices should scatter, the wind should carry away the fresh saffron that you witches hold. That is like basically go fuck yourself. Like, you know,
Wowsies.
shit in your
Right.
mouth, basically. That is the rabbinic understanding of an incantation that if you encounter a witch, your Yahweh powered incantation is that
Wow.
prescribed by the rabbis. So awesome, right? God
Yeah,
only
that's
knows the
pretty
origin
powerful.
story to this,
No, wait,
but
wait,
it's
wait,
there.
wait. Could you imagine living back then and you're just like do 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 going about your business and a guy walked past and he was like, "Oh God, hot feces, torn date
And then your torn date baskets in your mouth.
Like, wait, no, me? Wait, no.
Listen, it happens. Okay, it apparently happens. Um,
It's just interesting to think about how all this happened.
I mean, the fact that it's written down means that somebody needed an incantation, and the rabbis wrote one, and there you go. You encountered a witch. Ta-da! There you go. Really, really funny. Okay, some rabbinic tales of witches. Ryan, you want to read a couple of these? We've got some from Mishnah Sanhedrin.
Yeah.
That's 2nd century CE. You want to read that first one?
Sure. Okay, so these are the ones executed by stoning. Stoning is explicitly stated in respect to some, and where is not stated, it is written, his blood is in him, their blood is in him, which alludes to stoning. The halakha is
Halacha,
derived from what
the law.
what is what is stated in respect to necromancers and soothsayers. With stones shall they stone them, their blood is in them. A witch you shall not allow to live, followed by anyone who lies with a beast shall be put to death. Just as their stoning is indicated here too, stoning is understood. Well,
So
damn,
what
they
you're
just lumped
seeing
that all
here,
together.
they do. What you're
They
seeing
went from
here,
0 to like,
right, is the rabbis grouping some stuff together,
gosh,
and they're saying, okay, here's who gets
harsh.
stoned. Here's who we stone. Okay. The law says necromancers and soothsayers from Leviticus. Their blood is on them. A witch, and then you go back to Exodus and say, a witch you don't tolerate or allow to live. And followed by Leviticus 18, 4 chapters before, just for funsies, we're going to put anyone who lies with a beast, you're going to die. And it doesn't say it explicitly, it says it's understood. That's
Okay, now
rabbinic
that just
understanding
it
right there.
just feels like they did that on purpose.
Yeah,
It just
exactly. I
feels
can't
a
imagine
little
why. Right. Obviously, it was important. They were like, and you know what? Throw that in there because that's gross too. So,
right. Oh, lump them all together. Just who
Sanhedrin
knows?
7:11 says, a witch who performs an actual deed is liable to stoning, but not one who, quote, fools the eyes, meaning one who gives the impression that an act is being performed when nothing is being done. This is so
Ah,
cool. This
okay.
is this is interesting, right? Because they're saying if something real happens, then yeah, we'll stone them. But if someone's just pretending or saying like, this is what's going to happen and nothing happens, then you can't hold them liable. You can't kill someone over that,
Mhm.
right? If only some people in Salem had that same understanding.
I wish.
Alas, they did not.
Because I wonder if, like, that would be almost like a term of phrase or like, "Oh, you know what? I should
Right.
curse you. I should do" like, "Oh, so and so
Yep.
said they
A
they had"
witch. Right.
right. Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Turning into
yeah.
a newt.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank goodness they at least had some sense to be like, "Okay, okay,
Yeah.
Joey, you're crying wolf like every goddamn day. Your neighbor is
Right.
not cursing you."
Right. Exactly. And then there's this is extremely rabbinic law. Okay. This is rabbinic argument. Okay. They're going to basically say, here's how you understand this. Okay. Through the use of picking cucumbers. Okay. One who picks the cucumber and is not liable to death by stoning, and the other picks and is liable. One who performs the acts is liable. The one who fools the eye and gives the impression that they are being gathered in one place when they are not moved at all is not liable. It's a terrible argument, but apparently at the time, this was understood. This is idiomatic expression where, like, the cucumber thing makes sense. Again,
Interesting.
rabbinic law is fascinating. The arguments are fascinating, and that's why you need to take courses and courses to understand what that means. Okay,
Well, I
last
guess we
one.
knew,
Talmud
somebody was
Sanhedrin.
growing cucumbers.
Guys, right, right. Um, Talmud Sanhedrin. Talmud comments on the Mishnah. So this is 5th century commenting on 2nd century. The Mishnah teaches that the case of a warlock is referring to one who performs a real act of sorcery. The sages taught in a baraita. A baraita is an outside source, not in the Mishnah, not in the Talmud, not in the Torah, but something outside that they had record of. The verse, you shall not allow a witch to live, does not refer only to a female who practices sorcery. Both a man and a woman are included. If so, why does the verse state a witch? This is because, here we go, most women are familiar with witchcraft. In what manner is their death sentence administered? Rabbi Yosei Hagalili says, it is stated here, you shall not allow a witch to live, and it's stated there with regard to the conquest of the Canaanites, you shall allow nothing that breathes to live. Just as there the Canaanites were to be killed by the sword, so too here the execution of the witch is administered by the sword. So a couple
Damn.
things happening here. One, an outside source says that even though the verse says just witches, they mean men and women. And they explain that away because most sorcery is done by witches, but done by women, apparently, during that time. And then instead of stoning, they're using the Hebrew words within these verses compared to that within Numbers and Deuteronomy to say this refers to this. And so instead of stoning, because we killed Canaanites by the sword, we're going to execute warlocks by the sword. This is rabbinic reasoning. But either way, yeah, women, witches, tomato, tomato. Right, exactly. Very patriarchal, indeed.
Yeah, because I bet there was a lot of women who probably practiced like apothecary type things that were eventually misunderstood or on purpose, just not wanting them to have, you know, power of sorts.
Totally. Total patriarchy here, but, you know, and there is a great deal of skepticism about the fact that the Baraita, this outside source, even exists, right? Within Rabbinic Judaism, you're supposed to say, yes, they had record of it, we've lost it, or whatever it is. Most scholars say they're just making it up. They're just going to, if you wanted to make something up, you'd say, oh, it's from this other outside source. It's from a Baraita. Anyway, okay, let's go to demons because we got time. Very, very different from Christian understanding of demons. So, and that demonology. So please try to remove your Christian glasses in terms of demons. Demons did exist within Jewish mystical texts. Certainly, there are all kinds of rituals and objects that have been remade in modern Judaism to be other things that were what we call apotropaic, meaning to ward away demons or evil spirits. So the mezuzah, which we put on the door of our houses, if you look at a Jewish door, you'll see this mezuzah, which has the Shema, our direct declaration of monotheism, in there. It was reformulated within Deuteronomy with the Shema and the V'ahavta saying this is what you do. But originally it was an apotropaic piece that would ward away evil spirits. We still have the Chamsa, right, which is the hand with the eye that keeps away the evil eye, right? You've still got that. That's apotropaic that wards away demons and evil eyes. So like, even though that's like the part of it has been sort of pushed away, we still have the objects, right? So an apotropaic ritual that you may be familiar with is painting the blood on the doorposts within the Exodus story before the angel of death would be, because it's not about the blood or whatever it is, you know, the theology behind it. It's the ritual itself that was known of painting your doorposts with blood to keep away bad spirits, to keep away, in this case, the mashchit, the destroyer. We also see an apotropaic ritual in that weird bridegroom of blood situation where Yahweh comes to kill Moses on the road, and Zipporah cuts his foreskin and apparently saves the day. It's this very weird situation, but that is an apotropaic ritual that probably warded away. It originally probably wasn't Yahweh. It probably was, he was probably attacked by a demon on the way. And so, yes, there are those situations. We also see Lilith, right? Which we talked about last time, which is a demon in Jewish mythology. We see Asmodeus and Samael in later rabbinic texts and midrashic texts and mystical texts. And so the idea of demons did and do appear in these texts. Basically, they are supposed to annoy, tempt, harm, or kill you. There's all kinds of writings about it in the ancient Near East. They attacked at night. They attacked by water, by the river. Also, if you look at the struggle between Jacob and the angel, which happened by the river, originally it probably was someone having a wrestling with a demon, a
A
night
little
demon.
tussle.
Exactly. So you have to remember all this stuff sort of originates from those places. So um, there are a few references to demons in the Torah and elsewhere, not much. Okay. Leviticus 17:7 references a goat demon. And Deuteronomy says the bad people sacrifice to demons or gods they've never known, right? They're talking about the other people that are around you, right? They're aware that demons are a part of their mythology, and they're saying, don't do that. Isaiah also references goat demons, and Psalm 106 talks about how these are the things that um, other peoples around you did. They had not only interaction with demons, but some even, um, sacrificed to demons or got involved in all that stuff. It's worth saying that the Azazel character that we
I've
have,
heard of Azazel,
Azazel,
but I
which
don't know
is
much about.
it's basically Azazel is a forest demon, basically a scapegoat for your sins. So you put your sins in a goat and you
Oh,
push it out into the forest. The demon Azazel eats the goats and takes your sins away. That's one of the origins of Yom Kippur, is the sacrifice of your sins into a goat to a demon. Obviously, that was completely outlawed after that, because we can't do that. But the ideas that they had names, they had places, and they had roles were there. So yes, that would be demons. The real good stuff for demons are in the rabbinic tales. So I've talked a lot. Ryan, you want to see Talmud Brachot 6a?
sure. It has been taught. Abba Benjamin says, if the eye had the power to see them, no creature could endure the demons. Abaye says, there are more numerous than we are, and they surround us like the ridge around a mield. Oh,
Field. Sorry,
okay. No, I was like,
not a
wait a
meal.
minute.
A field. Yeah.
Arhuna
Sorry.
says, everyone among us has 1,000 on his left hand and 10,000 on his right hand. Rabbah says, the crushing of the crowd and the Kala, yearly public lectures, comes from them. Fatigue in the knees comes from them. The wearing out of the clothes of the scholars is due to their rubbing against them. Okay. The bruising of the
Yep.
feet comes from them. Oh, wow.
Yep.
Boy,
Uh huh.
they be doing a lot of bad stuff
That's
to
what
you.
I'm saying. That's
My
right. So
bad
they're
back,
saying
my
they're saying
neck.
basically they are more numerous than we are. They're everywhere. Um, when you get tired, that's demons. When your clothes get worn out, that's demons. When your feet get all bruised up, those dogs are barking, that's demons.
Them
Um,
corns.
not great
I agree. I do
theology,
think it is demons, though. I just think it
depending
is.
on how you feel. Yes. But yes, and then there's a couple more baraitas here that say, um, you know, the abundance and ubiquity of the demons, and you can live unaffected by them. Rab Huna says, um, God protects man from these demons, um, thanks to the words of the Psalm 91. Oh, and then read this last one, this last paragraph, Ryan. This one's cool.
One who seeks to know that the demons exist should place fine ashes around his bed, and in the morning the demons' footprints appear like chickens' footprints in the ash. One who seeks to see them should take the afterbirth of a firstborn female black cat born to a firstborn female black cat, burn it in the fire, grind it, and place it in his eyes, and he will see them. He must
So
then place
gross.
the ashes in an iron tube sealed with an iron seal, lest the demon steal it from him, and then seal the opening so he will not be harmed. Rev, okay, yes, this wonderful
Bye.
person
Yeah,
performed
Bar
this
Abaye. Yes.
Abaye performed this procedure, saw the demons, and was harmed. The sages prayed for mercy on his behalf, and he was healed. Wow.
Yeah. So look at
That's
the
very
detail.
specific.
Look at the detail that they're doing here. I love, by the way, that's very, very cool that you place ashes around your bed and you see the footprints
I mean, that's smart.
of these demons, right? And they're saying chickens because the demons have, I guess, three pronged, um,
I'm guessing, yeah.
you know, things or whatever. But like the black cat thing is really fantastic. I mean, since the
And
fifth
the
century, we're talking black
firstborn?
cats, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Firstborn
yes,
black
right.
cat, born of a firstborn, and then you have to burn it and grind it up and then like put it in your eyes, and then you'll be able to see demons. And by the way, they had to say that the son of Abaye did this, just so that you know it did work,
It actually
because no
worked
one
this
would
one
believe it
time.
unless we heard a story like that he actually did it. Um,
And
but
then
yeah,
what?
so
Okay, so you see the demon was there,
you see them,
and then
they see you, they hurt you, and then you pray on that, and you're good.
oh,
It's
okay, so
basically like a mystical, magical war. Basically, if you see them, they see you seeing them, and they hurt you. It's interesting. It's like, you know, it's really fantastic. I love it.
boy.
Um, okay, more demons. Oh, okay. You want to read Chagiga 16a? This one's cool.
Sure. The Gemara returns to discussing the heavenly beings. The sages taught 6 statements were with the regard to demons. In 3 ways they are like ministering angels, and in 3 ways they are like humans. The Barita specifies in 3 ways they are like ministering angels. They have wings like ministering angels. They fly from one end of the world to the other like ministering angels, and they know what will be in the future like ministering angels. Or they like ministering
Fascinating, right?
angels.
They do, right. So demons have wings. They can fly from one end to the other, and they tell the future. So they're very much like angels, according to
Wow.
the rabbis. Um, yeah,
What
really,
is
really
what
interesting.
is the Gemara?
Oh, sorry. The Gemara is basically the Talmud. The Gemara
Okay.
is the commentary on the Mishnah, the fifth century commentary that's held in the Talmud that comments on the Mishnah. So the Gemara is a fifth century comment,
Interesting.
a
Okay.
comment on a comment. Yes.
Comment of a comment of
Um,
a comment.
that's what we do, and we do commentary on
That's how we
commentary.
roll around here.
That's how we roll. Yeah,
I got
commentary on
something to say
commentary.
about that.
Right, right. I bet. Yes.
Actually. It's like the
Actually,
never ending
yes.
actually.
We're still doing it. Yeah.
There's
Yes. Okay. So we've got like 5 minutes. I'm gonna do zombies because why not?
fun.
Um, there's this great story in Ezekiel 37, 1 through 11, of a zombie. You may know the story about the dry bones. Um,
I
I
know
don't have
all
to
about
read
dry
it because we don't have the
bones.
time. But basically, there's dry bones. Hear the word of God. God puts the flesh back on the bones, and the zombie rises up. It happens in Ezekiel. So it's really, really a fantastic story. 37, 1 through 11. Um, but the Jewish folktale is what I want to make sure that we can know. But the Gemara raised an objection, says, what does the dead person not speak? Um, does the dead person not speak from the grave on his own? The Gemara answers, no, this is not so, as the dead person rises by sorcery and sits between the joints of the necromancer and speaks. So they're talking about you need a necromancer or you need a sorcerer to bring up the dead. The dead person cannot just speak to you as like, you know, the voice of a ghost out of the ground from Isaiah. So what they're doing is the rabbis are arguing that Isaiah's 29:4 is not to be taken literally, because there's this verse that says, "And your voice shall be as a ghost out of the ground," and the rabbis are saying, "Well, no, you actually need someone to do that." That, you know, that sort of thing. So that's a very interesting sort of commentary there. Okay, you've got to read the Jewish folktale, and then we'll end on the Jewish folktale.
Okay. A man was engaged to be married, but he didn't think the words at a wedding were very important. When he saw a finger sticking up out of the ground, he put the wedding ring for his fiancée on the finger and said the words that he was going to say at the wedding. The finger sank into the ground, taking the ring with it. The man got another ring but didn't tell anybody what had happened. At the wedding, the man was about to put his ring on his bride's finger when the doors burst open and a female zombie came in. She announced, "That man is married to me already," dun 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 dun, and
Mm-hmm.
showed his ring. Everybody screamed and ran out of the room except for the man, his bride, and the rabbi. The rabbi asked the man if this was true, and the man explained what had happened. The rabbi said that the man was indeed legally married to the zombie, so he wrote a
A
get.
get. Yeah, a get,
Oh,
which is
okay. A
a
Jewish
divorce document.
divorce document, and gave it to the man who gave it to the zombie. The zombie left and the man married his bride.
Amazing. Amazing.
Wowsies.
It's a
Could you
story about how the
imagine?
wedding vows matter. Like he sees a dead finger rising out of the grave. He puts it on and he goes, "Sure, no big deal. I can
Ha ha
say
ha.
I can swear whatever to you, but apparently it matters because the zombie woman rises up. And what's really wonderful here is that the solution to a zombie bride is a divorce document, not anything else, like not magic or anything like that.
Right.
It's
And she
just,
just left.
and she's just like, fine, we're divorced, and
She
went
was
back
like,
to her grave.
"Girl boss zombie,
It's
bye."
such an
Like,
amazing story for so many reasons. It's just such a great folktale.
yeah,
Because
that's
it's like, a zombie. Can you imagine like someone, holding up the stereo at your wedding and it's a zombie girl? And and the rabbi's like, no problem. Just write down the
get it
official get, the
done.
official divorce document, and give it to her. And she's like, fine, whatever. And the bride was just like fine with it, right? Like his new wife was just like, yeah, no big deal. What an idiot! Like, like, why were you doing that? But obviously, the folktale has different sort of
Immature.
moral things. Yeah, for
Right.
that.
When is
Um,
this from?
this is just
Like,
a
do you know?
folktale.
But like, do you know
At probably like 17th century,
oh,
something like
okay,
that.
okay.
16th century folktale. Probably more Hasidim sort of mystical ones. Because the divorce get document existed much later. But yeah, it's just a funny folktale that I thought was really great.
I enjoyed that.
Um, yeah. Unfortunately, we did not get to dragons, but we will do that another time. There are dragons in the Bible, and they're awesome.
Darn.
But we will get to that. But yeah, that is our Halloween episode. Missed you guys last week. I was in Orlando, rocking it up at Epcot Center. So apologize we made you wait 2 weeks, but this is our Halloween episode. I
Yes.
hope you guys
We all
enjoyed
deserve a
it.
little vacay.
That's right. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and tell your friends, subscribe. We're going to get back to regular scheduled programming next week. I'm sure Ryan will have something rad for us.
Sure, sure, sure.
And then I know that I will continue the week after with more motif adaption, getting along those sort of lines. If you have not seen um, any other of our videos, start at the beginning, start and trace your way back so that you can catch up with us. But yeah, we really appreciate you listening and happy Halloween to you guys.
Yeah, happy Halloweenie. Just one last question. That is more like a late, isn't
Yes. I'm not
I
sure
can't
what
think
the
of what
reference is there,
century, but
Dan. Um, I, oh, you're talking about the lesser
The
key of
Solomon's Key, yeah, the
Solomon.
Lesser Key of
Solomon's
Solomon. That's
key.
like a late, isn't that like a really?
I think it's apocalyptic or pseudepigrapha, the Testament of Solomon. Yeah, this is something that is outside of the canon, um, which means that it was like known, but not so much. The dating of it, I'm not sure of, but Yeah, but there's all kinds of stuff on sorcery. It says was compiled in the mid 17th century from materials several centuries older. So we're talking late stuff. Nothing that would
Interesting.
be what we would consider biblical or even rabbinic much later. But cool stuff, fun stuff.
Yeah, someone was practicing
Yeah,
it. Somebody thought that it was interesting enough
yeah.
to write it
There's
down,
good stuff
and
in there. I mean,
somehow it
there's
survived. Yeah,
yeah,
I've only glanced through it just to kind of peruse through the names to see if anything rang a bell, but only like one or two names kind of
yeah,
stood out to me. So I have a lot of learning to do when it comes to that, because I do just think it's interesting to I'd like to know what people thought the names of these demons were, since we supposedly
yeah.
have
The
names of
72
angels.
angels and 72 demons and all that stuff. I mean,
Right.
it's great mythical fun
Yeah.
to sort of look at that. So, but
One day
yeah,
people are gonna look back
um,
at us and our weird quirks and be like, what the fuck was
exactly.
wrong with
What
those
was that? What
people?
was that book about?
What was
For
that
real.
about?
Exactly.
Um, yes, thank you. On Tuesday, I'm going to a demonstration for the just to raise awareness about the ongoings of the harms the Jehovah's Witness organization is causing. So if anybody is
Yeah.
going,
Thank you.
I will see y'all there. Be there, be
All
square.
right. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, I absolutely will.
So,
Thank you for a great show. I love learning about the different, spirits and dead. And oh, I think what scripture, I think it was Isaiah 26:14, but there was actually several of them I have written down, but I didn't get to like
okay.
research, I think, as much as I wanted to. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's basically about
Oh,
the
there it is. Yeah.
dead rising, or it's he's going into that concept a lot, like from Isaiah
Yeah.
14, where he kind of mentions like that king also going, like he's going to be the one going down, he's never, he's going to come back up, etc. That
Oh,
kind of,
they were use the word shades here for Rephaim. That's what they're
yeah,
using here. So they
yeah,
are dead. They can never live. Rephaim, they can never rise. So yeah. So they're referring to it in that. You were right. Yeah, absolutely.
cool, right? It's just
Yeah.
interesting. I do really like Isaiah's, well, one of the Isaiahs or some of the Isaiahs. I think it's the early Isaiah. I really like that guy. He seems pretty cool. I'd like to talk to him one day, just see
Yeah.
what's up. But I bet you he was doing some kind of spells and shit, but he just didn't want to call it that. I got a feeling about that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just have a feeling about he's curious about some of
He
that
is.
stuff.
Got some good stuff.
He's got some good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was a delight. Awesome show for October. Had two spooktacular shows about Call of the Dead, and here we have some zombies and witches. And you had
Yeah.
a bitch tonight too. You got me. Thanks
That's
everybody
right.
for joining us, and we will see you next week. Take
All
care.
right, friends. Take
Bye.
care. See you later. Pow.